welcome to this evening meeting of ours following our meeting with the AG this morning, a meeting and then of course the sitting of the House, and now here we are. So thank you very much, colleagues, for your presence this evening. Let me take this opportunity and welcome the Minister and the Presidency and the Deputy Minister and the officials of the presidents who are here. Babum Tibi, the head of unit of the SIU, and your team. Good evening and welcome. And of course, our ever-present stakeholders, the AG, National Treasury, who are always here, and the fourth estate, the media. Colleagues, we're going to have a very brief meeting, and I'm going to give a background. The ministers only just returned from West Africa, and we had a discussion around the issues of the committee which we wanted to raise. As you will recall, yesterday there was the correspondence that had been received by the acting minister. So the minister will be addressing us shortly on the issue that we have raised, but I think
recording in progress.
For the context of why we are here, Deputy Minister, we have been receiving the reports of the SIU into the COVID corruption following the presidential proclamation. The updates that we have received were now on update number 6 on those matters. The outlook of the committee, and we met with the SIU also yesterday, Minister. The outlook of the committee is that ultimately, when the reports are done, notwithstanding the fact that these are progress reports, but they are progress reports that have got findings and determinations and recommendations and so on, because it is investigating in progress as well, in real time rather. Yesterday, members also raised a particular concern around the fact that there seemingly is inaction in the implementation of recommendations about what the SIU would have found and would have determined. Some matters are as old as 14 months and so on, and there is no movement. Consequence management has not moved. Around the issues of the prosecutions with the NPA, there's no movement. Of course, that may be an NPA purview, but the fundamental conclusion is that this is an investigation, ongoing as it is, that flows from a proclamation from the president, and the reports are handed over to the president. And therefore, we need to then gauge what happens at that point. That is the fundamental issue in this conveyor belt of movement of issues. Then, of course, as indicated to you, Minister, in the correspondence, there's the issue of the Director General of the Department of Public Works, whose disciplinary processes are rather being handled at the presidency level. So it became important for us to ensure that the investigations of the SIU and the reports thereof do not become fruitless and wasteful expenditure, in that it's reports which are done and then they gather dust. For today, we will probably just be focusing ourselves to the PPE investigations, but generally, those are not the only investigations that are done by the SIU at the behest of a presidential proclamation. So I think, colleagues, I'm trying to summarize and capturing the salient points very succinctly in terms of why we are here and our expectation that the presidency must take us now into confidence about what happens to the reports. Implementation of recommendations is of particular and fundamental importance in this regard. So that is where we are. So colleagues, what I will do then, can I ask then the minister to come in and then we will then engage on the issues after that, notwithstanding the fact that we had some sort of glitches in terms of whether we're proceeding or not. And Minister, thank you very much for being available this evening. So, Minister, good evening and welcome. And I'd now like to hand over to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Chair. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Honorable Chair. Thank you to the members of the Portfolio Committee. Good evening. Mr. Motibe, his team, I see Khanyaho, AG, and all other relevant stakeholders who are attending the SCOPA meeting with that is dealing with such complex tasks. I've just arrived, Honorable Chair, this morning after a very taxing trip. We arrived this morning at about 7 a.m. We had to rush to Cabinet and so on, Parliament and what. So I had thought this matter was dealt with until the Chair engaged me to clarify. And then I agreed that when the Chair said, even if you've got nothing to report fully, I order you to come to the Portfolio Committee. Because I have been a member of Parliament, there's nothing that worries me like feeling undermined by the executive. And when the Chair didn't give me an option, then I thought I should come. The point I'm here to make, honorable members, is that these reports that you are speaking about are usually dealt with by the President's office. Whatever we have to deal with as Presidency, it's when it has been referred by the President to us. A number of times, the President would have preferred to refer something to an affected department. Now, it becomes important, therefore, which I would want to accept, especially after discussion with the Chair, that maybe even us as presidents, we were supposed to have taken a proactive step with the team of the President to actually have a sense, because we have a duty to communicate, we've got a duty to inform society. Maybe waiting and not finding out, we could plead guilty on that. Based on that, as we sit now, we understood what the President is dealing with as preliminary progress reports, whether different sections and phases are implementable in a bigger scheme of things. I say this because at some stage I engaged with the SIU, who gave me an idea that the final report will be around, they will correct me if I'm wrong, around December, which is December now. And at that point, one had hoped then would actually be privy with that. So the undertaking I made to the Chair, which I want to make to the Portfolio Committee, if the Portfolio Committee so indulge, is that I be allowed today to engage the Office of the President and be advised on how this matter is going to be dealt with. Because once it's out of the Office of the President, it is under my watch. So take it from there and come back to Chair with regard to how this matter is intended to be dealt with. That's how far the SIU report is concerned. On Mr. Vukela, I found the process, his issue in process, and as a successor in title, I look at the basis for suspension, and I agreed with the former late Honorable Mthembu, may his soul rest in peace. I agreed with his principles and felt that indeed suspension was correct. And then it meant during suspension, Mr. Vukela, then the DC had to go on. It is a disagreement on the elements of these processes that now Vukela has taken his matter to court. We also are questioning whether the bargaining council has a jurisdiction on the matter. So it's a lot of those disputes. In other words, if we were to talk in terms of court, we would say the matter is sub judice, but there's no such a thing in a matter like this. All I want to say that matter is in process. It's a matter that we are dealing with. Having said that, and I repeat that, that's the situation with regard to SIU and Mr. Fugela. And I am pleading with the committee, if the committee so indulge, to allow me to engage the office of the president on this matter and see how we take it forward. Thank you for the opportunity, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much, Minister, for that very candid response about where things are. Colleagues, so that's the position we are in at this point in time. And the reason why one may have insisted that we proceed with the meeting is to attach the seriousness of the matter to the matter. So that it is clarified that we've got an expectation that there is movement on these matters. Colleagues, may I hand over to you, having heard what the minister's request under the circumstances in which we all collectively find ourselves in at this point. Colleagues, over to you. Mamutolashe.
Mangibonge isihlalo ngibulise uwesihlalo colleagues nongqongqoshe ukuqala nje esihlalo appreciate i-effort yakangqongqoshe to make sure that he becomes part of this meeting. You might correct me, Chair, when I said it's the first time we're able to sit with the minister in the presidency and have this kind of interaction. We've been longing to have it, but I appreciate the fact that at least this minister find time to come and meet with us. We appreciate that. Thank you so much. Secondly, Chair, you also made mention of the fact that he is very candid in explaining things and his understanding and commitment on how he's going to make sure that he brings all the expected reports to us, which I also appreciate. And therefore, Chair, find no reason for us not to trust the minister and make sure that our next meeting will be receiving all that report, both in writing and him presenting, so that we can interact and be able to find the answers. Chair, that will be my take insofar as this matter is concerned. Thank you very much, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much, Ma'am Dolashe. Right, I see the hands. What I'll do is I'm going to go in a row. So Honorable Hatebe, Honorable Mente, Honorable Somyo, and then Honorable Dirks. I'm going to take them as they appear in my screen. Honorable Hatebe with an H.
Thanks, Chair. Let me follow suit from Honorable Dolashe and welcome and appreciate the fact that the minister was able to come and see us, given his busy schedule coming from Africa. Indeed, Honorable Minister, we were a bit concerned with the slow pace in terms of implementation of cases that have been finalized. If I were to just give you a short summary of cases that we're dealing with and the progress that has been given to us in a form of an update. As of July 2021, we were informed that contracts that were under investigation are more than 2,600. And out of that, cases that have been finalized are contracts that are 1,068. So from our side, we have expected that those cases that have been finalized, outcome, findings, and sanction imposed, as the matter belongs to the presidency and responsible for the proclamation, you would be keen to understand exactly how far other issues in relation to implementation. Now, there are certain cases where the sanction is that companies must be blacklisted. And those cases, some of them have been finalized last year. In fact, November 2020, we are now in December 2021, 13 months later. The entity responsible for blacklisting those companies is still considering those cases. To us, we view that as a deliberate, for a lack of a better word, attempt to stall the process or unwillingness to act swiftly to indicate to the society that indeed this administration does not tolerate maladministration, corruption, and theft. We don't want a taxi rank approach. You know, in a taxi rank, a taxi, despite having passengers, it will only leave when the taxi is full. So we don't want a situation where the presidency will wait for the final report to act. Yet there are findings and cases that have been concluded. If we can expedite that process, it will give comfort to us. We are fully cognizant of the fact that we only started on the 6th of August. But we all know that the rule of succession. So if possible, in closing, you will be in a position to tell us at least the time frame, whether early next year, where you will be able to give a detailed report, not on the finalized outcome, but those cases that were already concluded as early as 2020, August and November. How are you going to ensure that you expedite and put pressure as a minister responsible for planning, monitoring, and evaluation? Thank you, Chair. Let me submarine for now.
Okay, Mr. Submarine. Honorable Mente.
Inkosi kakhulu Sihlalo. No, Sihlalo, Honorable Hadebe, usetshilo izinto ezininzi ebendizazitsho kodwa he's just being very civil about them. One, the matters that we are dealing with and the dissatisfaction we have, it has to be registered and it has to come out outrightly that there is some laissez-faire attitude at the presidency when it comes to issues of governance and the reports that the office of the president must finalize. And then the minister must then take cognizance of the fact that his office is going to be held accountable if we are not getting joy where president is concerned. Now, who becomes the person who follows up on every proclamation when it's finalized and reported back to the president? Because we cannot sit and be thankful for availing yourself after 3 years and availing yourself after going there and there. There should be other people who are coming there, deputy ministers and everyone else that must come and account. So your availability for the committee has to be something that you do much regularly. Now, I'm not thankful that you came because you are supposed to be coming here and it's the first time we're seeing you in this parliament. And in fact, not that you, the office of the president in presidency, we haven't been getting joy with the office and they are not reporting on the progress of cases as Honorable Hadebe has mentioned them and indicated that some of them were finalized last year already. We are finishing another year. So 2 years, consequence management is not being actioned. Some DGs that have to be dealt with and have been reported to the office is not being actioned. Their 5-year term is going to end and it's going to be the case of their term ended anyway. There's nothing much that we can do. And that does not show confidence and doesn't give confidence to the public. And therefore, we need to understand that who should we as a committee of SCOPA call when we want these things to be done? We can't wait for a year for those things to be done. Number two, and you requested now that you be given time to go and look into the things and see how best you can come back to report. When will that be? It cannot be again in March or June next year. Thank you very much, Chair.
Okay, Honorable Member, thank you very much. Honorable Hatebe Bamba. Right?
Yeah, good afternoon, Chair, and the Minister. I think in line with what the colleagues are saying, let's accede to the plea by the Minister. It will serve more purpose for him to be more prepared when it comes to the committee. It will serve us better if we allow him to do so. What could be done is that the Secretariat could collate those matters which are of his attention or the department's attention, and therefore communicate with the minister accordingly, inclusive of those matters which other colleagues have highlighted. I'm talking on the basis of the fact that continuing this way would serve more purpose than to create a highlight mode than to stipulate in detail all those matters that are in need of a response and allow him that time. And the question which is pertinent is what Honorable Mandy has referred to, probably from our side, just to indicate when would we need that kind of engagement and report. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much, Somyo. Babu Dex, over to you, and we'll also give an opportunity, of course, to the SIU to make a comment on the matter. Babu Dex, over to you.
Thank you, Chairperson, and thank you to the Minister for coming out to this meeting this evening. We really appreciate it, Minister. It's understood the submission that the Minister made. I agree with him, and I think we need to support it. The Minister needs to go back, and then the Minister can come and give us a proper feedback. I think that's in order. We should agree to that. But I just want to make one more request. In addition to the feedback we want on the DG of Public Works, I would also like the Minister, when he comes back, to take this committee and to take South Africans in confidence on another matter which is very close to the presidency, the issue of the spokesperson in the presidency, Mastiko. We know that she was put on suspension previously or on special leave, and she has now come back, and then we get conflicting media reports that she's been implicated again in another PPE matter that the SIU have reported, and we believe reported to the presidency. We do not know how true it is. So the reason I want to be included is because it gives the impression to South Africans that corruption is actually PPE corruption is actually taking place directly in the office of the presidency. So we need to clarify that, and it's best if we take the committee in confidence and take South Africans in confidence regarding the matter of the spokesperson of the president, Mastiko. What is the current situation? Is she back at work? What is this new allegations that the SIU reported that she's been receiving further monies from PPE contracts that was given out? So if you can just take the South Africans in confidence in order to clarify this matter, because it's like really it's happening in the presidency, and that's why we need to clarify that to South Africans. Thank you very much, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much, Babu Dex. All right. What I'm going to do, Minister, let me hand over to the SIU for context and perspective that they may have, and then I'll come to you, and then I think we will be done, and then we'll just make a determination on the way forward. But I don't think we are in conflict with the request you have made. Babu Mtip, can I hand over to you? Seeing you 2 days back to back. CPs. All right, head of unit, let me hand over to you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair and honorable members. Let me also greet the Honorable Minister, Gungubele, and the Deputy Minister. We appreciate the opportunity to be present in this meeting and also to comment and giving some context, which of course the Minister has rightfully already just mentioned. The legislation that regulates our business and regulates the investigations, of course, provides that our formal investigations are kicked off based on a proclamation, and there is a particular section in our legislation, is section 4F, just for information, which says from time to time, as directed by the President, the SIU will provide progress on the investigations and matters that are pending in the special tribunal. So with particular reference to the PPE investigations, we've been doing that. And in particular there, when the proclamation was announced, the President specifically directed that we'll present and submit 6 weekly reports, which we did since the inception of the investigations. As the Honorable Chair indicated, we have since submitted 6 progress reports since the inception of the investigations, and we are now left with the final report. And the Minister did indicate rightfully that we will be submitting the report now in December, but specifically on the 10th of December, 2021, which is this Friday coming. And we are on track. We've been working on the draft report. We will be submitting the report by close of business on Friday. And then, of course, the legislation goes further. In section 4G, it says, upon conclusion of the investigation, we'll submit the final report to the President. And I suppose this is what the Honorable Committee is seeking to really find out in terms of what becomes of the reports once submitted, and the Minister, of course, indicated the opportunity so that we return and indicate to the Honorable Committee. But I need to just give the committee the assurance, the Honorable Committee the assurance that the progress reports that we have been submitting, in those reports, there are reports of matters that have been referred for civil litigation, and they have been actioned, recoveries have been made, preservation orders have been obtained, recoveries are being ordered by the special tribunal. The next ones are the ones that are referred for disciplinary action, that is where officials are involved in all of this maladministration and corruption. Those matters are referred as and when evidence is picked up by the investigators. And there we refer it immediately that evidence is picked up. We refer it to the state institutions, their accounting authorities and accounting officers, so that they can act as of immediate. And then there's another outcome where the legislation says when we pick up the evidence of criminal, pointing to criminal action, we are by law required to refer to NPA, and we collaborate, of course, with NPA in terms of making sure that those matters are progressed speedily and prosecuted. So I really mention all this, just the key outcomes. Others are really referrals to other regulatory authorities, including administrative referrals that Honorable Hadebe mentioned about the blacklisting and so on. Honorable Chair and Honorable Members, I really wanted to assure the committee that those actions do not wait for the final report to reach the President, and we do so, of course, based on the need to take immediate action against those who are responsible so that consequence management can be implemented with immediate effect on referrals. And once we submit the final report, we do outline all of those actions that have been taken. And of course, at the time of the final report, there might be some of the actions that are still pending, and then it becomes important that the state institutions where we have investigated are aware of the matters that are probably still pending, so that then there could be impetus in implementing the SIU referrals, so that ultimately the investigations really proves that we have delivered value for money in the interest of the public. I really wanted to just make these few comments. I appreciate the opportunity, Honorable Chair and Honorable Members, and thank you, Honorable Minister and the Deputy. And colleagues, I greet you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, HOU, Advocate Mtibi. All right, let me hand over to the Minister, having heard the outlook and the thinking of the committee on the matter, and then we will make a determination after that. Minister, over to you.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I think I've heard the committee. The call is, we are expected to come back here to give report with regard to where things are, and we're expected to update the committee with regard to what government is doing. And I think we accept that responsibility. As I've said, in this office, there are a lot of things you do. Sometimes you omit others, not deliberately. And because that thing is in the president, as the more you speak, the more I realize that one was supposed to have been engaging that office, because I've got a good relationship with the legal unit of the president. And I think we will be able to find a way of what do we do early next year with regard to updating you with regard to where things are. Because if corruption is being committed in that investigation, there's a comfort in knowing what is happening about that. And I think I appreciate all that and the frustration the committee has been going through. Having said all that, I want to stop at this point thanking the SIU Babumtribe with the tough job they do and the diligence through which they carry that job. But having said all that, I want to wish all the members Happy Christmas, including the Honorable Mente. Thank you, Chair.
All right, Minister, let's do this because quite clearly, this being the first time the matter is receiving the kind of attention that it is, we, for lack of a better phrase, it is for all intents and purposes a learning curve in terms of paying a particular attention to issues of this nature, because we want to see the work of the SIU come full circle, with consequence management being at the center of that, and also ensuring that there's recoveries to the state for the losses that will be incurred because of corruption, and ensuring that the presidency leads by example on the critical question of consequence management. We want successful prosecutions which arrive at logical legal conclusions as a practical and fundamental means of pushing back on the frontiers of corruption. Because if things are open-ended, then we run the fundamental risk of being a talk shop. which we do not want to do. And we place a very heavy reliance on the work of the SIU and on the AG in particular in this committee as the key enablers of the work that we do and the work that they do. So, so having heard the thinking of the committee, Minister, and I think there's a meeting of minds on this matter, and we will continue to engage, of course, on it as we develop an SOP in terms of reporting and in terms of implementation to uphold the expectations that currently characterize the outlook of the committee on behalf of Parliament. So there will be that engagement. So I think what we can therefore do, Minister, is that because today is the last day of committee's meeting, so usinda kanjalo, what we will do as colleagues, the first meeting in which committees will be scheduled to meet by Parliament, which will be in February, then because the first week or two will be on oversights and so Minister, you will be our first guest when Parliament resumes. You are our last one now, so that you have got December and January to now go and pull out these reports with the legal of the President and engage the President on these matters, so that there's reporting. Because what we need to do is that where there's difficulty in implementation, the committee has resolved that we need to call those people in. We are intending on setting aside time, which may be about a week really, engaging with each entity and each department which is expected to take action. But we do not want to run that process devoid of the ownership of where the buck stops, insofar as where these reports reside, and that's the Presidency. So there is a need for heightened cooperation between us on this key aspect of work. So I think let us therefore, Minister, during this recess to actually prepare and consolidate on the reporting and pull out the issue so that where there are snags, we can then be able to deal with those. We will be on the other side, of course, be doing what we are expected to do of calling in those people. But ultimately, Minister, what we are saying is that you need to take ownership of the reports in a practical way. They cannot be paper reports for noting. They are reports which have got key critical findings, which must be acted upon, and beyond that, be an enabler to change the trajectory of the thinking in terms of how things should be done, because some of the recommendations, as far as we see it, are about righting the wrongs in terms of due process and how things are done. We also have a line of thinking about it, but what we want is that the report must not reach the President/Presidency and no action is taken. So that is where we are, and that must, that is a non-negotiable, Minister. So I think there's a meeting of minds. We will communicate between the offices, and the first meeting in 2022 will be the Presidency and ourselves on this matter, so that we can be able to take it forward. So I hope, colleagues, you are comfortable with that. And Minister, I thank you very much. I know that we have been speaking via just correspondence, and you are away and so on, and it made coordinating things just a tad bit more difficult than one would have anticipated. But I think that it's good that we have found a point of convergence and we're in agreement. So, siyabonga. Honorable Adebe, I saw your hand, so that I can then just make one or two announcements.
No, thanks. I wanted to say the matter that needs to be emphasized more are matters referred to NPA for prosecution. That aspect we are not happy about. NPA seem not to be coming to the party. I wanted to emphasize on that point. Matters referred to NPA for prosecution. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. In fact, Minister, let's just put it and draw your attention to this so that you could draw it to the attention of the President as well. We are not happy in generally most respects about the slow pace or lack thereof of the law enforcement agencies' work in bringing matters to prosecution. Notwithstanding our displeasure, of course, with the courts as well, whom they themselves are not helping, because we don't want cosmetic prosecutions, wherein you prosecute company X and person X 10 years from now. No. So something has got to give, and we are not saying the presidency must interfere, because there's the separation of the three arms of the state, but it is...
As long as we understand that part, Chair.
Clear kakhulu, but ingxaki-ke naye upresident o-appointers as his directors as NDPPs, abantu bakhe are not helping.
Okay.
So that is the issue. So we are certainly not calling for an interference and the conflation of the three arms of the state, but I think working together and the president making these appointments, we are intending, in fact, on having a discussion with the Office of the Chief Justice. We're just waiting for that process to be finalized so that the new Chief Justices can have an appreciation of the damage of the slow pace of prosecutions is doing to the public. Yes. The taxpayers are really, really struggling, and we all have a duty in our respective places of deployment to do better. Minister, Deputy Minister, Babu Mtibi, the Presidency and the SIU in your entirety, colleagues from the AG, National Treasury who are always here, on behalf of the Standing Committee on Public Accounts, this is our last meeting for the year. Unless something extraordinary out of the extraordinary happens, we will meet. We want to thank you very much and to wish you and your families a blessed and safe and happy festive season and a happy new year, and wish to thank you in particular, AG and SIU, for being trusted partners in the work that we have been doing, particularly this year. To our colleagues in the media, it has certainly been a long year for all of us. You have covered elections, you have covered COVID, you've covered Parliament, and we hope that you will find time to rest as well with your families. And then most importantly, I would like to thank my colleagues. Colleagues, thank you very much for the hard work that we have put in, the long hours we have put in, and I think the progress we are making slowly but surely, cleaning house and ensuring that the conveyor belt of public accountability on public accounts is actually done. And I think we are making a very good progress. And of course, the jury is out here, but in our own assessment, we are trying our level best to do the best that we can. So colleagues, thank you very much. And of course, to our support team, our secretariat and team in your entirety, with Ben, Stombi, Stando, Skuku, Faith, Lungisa, Nadima, guys, everyone. I hope I didn't leave anyone out. Yeah, I think I covered everyone. If I did, ngizothumela inkukhu. Siyabonga kakhulu for your ever presence and your diligent work. We really, really appreciate it. We don't take it for granted. So I think, colleagues, let's leave it at that. And we will schedule the presidency for the first meeting of the year in 2022 to then take this matter forward in a structured and formal way. I see the minister here. Yeah, all right, DM. Sibonga ngazo zozibini ke mntana omhle kuwe negqiza lonke benihamba nalo, and we wish you well. Colleagues, have a wonderful festive season. There will be correspondence about a strat plan and our oversight visit to ESCOM and to PRASA in January. So the 2 weeks of committee work when Parliament resumes before meetings will be dedicated to the strat plan, ESCOM and PRASA and any other urgent matter that may require our attention. I think just on a personal note, I know Ndingu last born up here committee, and I really appreciate the mutual respect that we have for